It's Mazzy. Welcome back to the channel. Sex Pistols. Let's shoot those pistols off. Let's talk about the Rhino High Fidelity and my first UK press. There's no comparison. It's a totally not equal comparison. This was the original master tapes, 1977, the very first pressing with the 11 tracks. Submission is not on this track. This is the Rhino Hi-Fi based on that master, that US flat master. Apparently every version, American version since, has been using that tape. Now, I did have the original back in the day, the original Warner Brothers. I did get this in the day. But those were the days that if I had a great UK copy of a UK band, I traded back in my American copy because this is a fucking killer. It's going to be hard to beat this. No one has ever beaten it, and no one has today. That's the punchline. But this is an excellent record. Again, 11 tracks with an submission. UK, produced by Chris Thomas with Bill Price, who kind of engineered. They worked together at Air Studios. And the essay in this record, in the Rhino Hi-Fi, is very revealing. A lot of things that I did not know. And one of the main things I need to shout out, and maybe I'll even put in the thumbnail, Mono Deluxe. Mono Deluxe was sort of the concept that Chris Thomas loved in his early productions. He's not a fan of wide stereo, where you have a guitar on the far left and something else on the far right split up. So this is Mono Deluxe. Apparently there's an artist called Mono Deluxe, because I looked it up to see if there's any more information, and there is an artist who goes by that name. Don't know if it originated by Chris Thomas back in the day, but he talks about that, of overlaying the guitars on left channel and duplicating, playing again and putting on the right channel. And it was really interesting about this, how really bad this band was, and Chris Thomas had to really work with them and layer the guitar, and that Steve Jones had to play the bass on this record, and replacing Glenn Metlock, who was sort of pushed out because he liked the Beatles so much. That's the rumor, at least. And Steve Jones basically turned octave down on a guitar and played bass on this. No mention, I don't even think, of Sid Vicious on this record. Now, here is the gatefold of this. Of course, the original was not a gatefold. This has the back color and song listing, track listing, that was on the American edition and on later UK editions. Again, this is the UK, this is the American. I do like this day glow bright color. There were different colors then. I borrowed my friend's 80 copy of the American again, because I haven't heard the American in probably 30 or 40 years, or a long time. And so I played it again, and it did seem dull to me, comparison to my UK press, the American early 1980, I don't know, early 80s edition. And it wasn't as dynamic and expansive. And I tell you, this is an excellent record. I had to turn it up maybe 2 to 3 notches to equal the volume of the original UK. When I put on this album, and there's certain tracks especially I concentrated on: God Save the Queen, Anarchy in the UK, and Holiday in the Sun. Of course, I played the whole thing, everything on here, several times, and went back and forth between these two records. And I tell you what, the original UK, there's no competition. If you can find a copy of this, this is the one to get. However, this goes in excess. And if you want a good VG Plus copy, it's going to be $100, $150, $200 or more, unless you get lucky in the UK. Maybe you find a copy, stumble across a copy, but this ain't a cheap record in good condition now. So the Rhino for $40 is an excellent version. Now, I will say this. Of the American versions, my recollection, obviously, of an old version I don't have of the first American pressing, and my recent listening of that 1982's American pressing, this blows that one away. I hate to use the term blows it away. I hate when people say it destroys a copy. That's rare. But this exceeds any other American copy that I've ever heard. Now, of course, maybe there's one that you have that was a lucky mastering or something happened. But I tell you, there is a great dynamic in this. Nothing is cut off, nothing is dulled. But I tell you, when you put on, for instance, God Save the Queen, Anarchy in the USA especially. Those two songs, again, those are the two songs I concentrated on. After I put the Rhino on and I put this on, this enveloped the room more. This had a wider soundscape by far than the Rhino Hi-Fi. So my guess is, I mean, it's not a guess that I'm reaching for, but it's basically the tapes. That's what the copy tape was. The non-Dolby, non-EQ tape, I guess, that Warner Brothers got in 1977. This was a fresh tape. This was a UK tape, the original master. And this just literally, my room filled up in that Mono Deluxe. Mono Deluxe, I want to use that term from now on. Chris Thomas really liked mono. Now, if you don't know Chris Thomas, he worked with Roxy Music. At 21, he was thrown in recording the Beatles when George Martin took a little break during the White Album, worked on like 6 songs on the White Album, really basically producing them. And of course, years later, The Pretenders and a lot of great records. And it's really interesting when he talks about making of this record and having to do the layers of guitars. And so anybody that thinks like this record doesn't deserve a quote audiophile, this is a well-recorded record by a band that was just starting to get tight. And then of course, that was it, one and done. Steve Jones and Paul Cook especially, he talks about them rehearsing in the studio, and Johnny Rotten kind of comes in a little later on this. So that's the core of this, and Steve Jones obviously is one of the heroes of this record, along with Paul Cook. It's incredible dynamics of layered thrashing guitars, overdubbed and overdubbed. So this is not your DIY punk record that was recorded in 1 or 2 takes. And they do talk about this. A lot of this was one take, but then they did all the layers. And they found that magic moment when they doubled the bass, brought it down octaves from the guitar, and that was the magic that Chris Thomas found on here. And the only direction he got from Malcolm McLaren, their manager, was make a great record. And he did. He made a great record. Now, great record in terms of punk. You don't compare this to Pink Floyd or the Beatles or Supertramp of the day. This is a great record if you like punk music and if you like the intensity, the audacity. But I tell you one thing is the pressing difference. This is a total quiet pressing. Excellent flat pressing. No noise whatsoever. Going back, of course, to almost a 48-year-old record, there's some noise in this. There's a little bit of static. I played it a lot, but not overplayed, so it's not a worn record at all. It's just the nature of the pressing, even in the UK back in 1977. But it's mostly between tracks because there's not a lot of downtime of quiet passages in this record at all. So this is the quiet record. Now, if you don't have this and you don't hear this, you're not going to miss anything on this record. Again, for American audiences, you'll never get anything better unless you get an import, unless you get this. I haven't heard the Barclay, the first French Barclay. I assume might be very similar to this. I don't know. I haven't heard it. But I tell you, again, excess of $100 for this. And if you can find a great copy, pick it up because it's amazing. It does surround you. That Mono Deluxe thing, I'm going to beat a dead horse here by saying that, is excellent. So that's my take on it. It has the usual obi, kind of a nice green color that does the matching of the back here a little bit, probably the same PMS color, I assume. And this is amazing the way it just reflects. I love the cover art on this. Of course, I kind of always like the American color, the orangish color over the yellow. But again, this is kind of a nice yin-yang thing. I'm never letting this one go. But this is a nice alternative. And again, for those of you who don't have that UK record, this is for you. So in closing, let me leave you with a little tip. A lot of people are complaining about the design, the sizing of these sleeves, these wonderful, beautiful printed sleeves, heavy gauge cardboard. Here's a little tip. Put it against your chest, put it against your sternum, give it a little tug, a little push there, and these will slide right in. There you go. Sex Pistols, Rhino High Fidelity. Mazzy loves you.